Hello, everybody. This is Lynda Cromar coming to you from beautiful Colorado. And I have this saying here that kind of goes along with what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And tell me where you're scoping in from. Just say hello for a minute. How are you? I love it when somebody new comes into the scope. Let me know if you're new. I'd love to know if you're new. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about what people are doing with hello, not new. Hello. How are you doing today? I appreciate it. And thanks for the hearts. Purple hearts. Beautiful. Hey, they match my shirt. But anyway, where do people fail when it comes to building, to do something with their live events that they go to? They spend the money, they spend the time. Where do they fail? Where do you think they fail? Or have you been guilty of falling short of what you need to do for yourself as far as making it work for you after you get back? Got some points, but I'm sure you've got some too, and you can certainly add to that. Welcome everybody that just joined. I appreciate it so much. And thanks so much for the hearts. Those are pretty. Pink ones, purple ones. Anyway, I have my list, and you'll probably find a few things you could add to this. One of the things is that people tend to take and write down word for word what they hear from the speakers. Now think about this. I've been guilty of this, so I know that others do this too. If you write down word for word, it's not probably going to mean that much to you, but what are the impressions or the ideas that you get from that person that sparks from you that you could apply? That's quite different than word for word. So the number one is word for word. Two is trying to get all the different offers and all the different speakers that you're trying to get it all. You think that that's going to help you. But a lot of the time, some of the things that they're going to share are just not going to be what can work for you. And so you have to know yourself well enough that you say, that doesn't sound like me. That doesn't sound like what's going to work for me. I think I'll skip on that one. Like I just went to one where they had both investments and real estate. Well, you know what? You can't do both of those things. You got to choose, because you've got a certain amount of period of time that you're going to create the expertise, create the ability to do it. And you're not going to be able to split yourself up into 5 different pockets and try to do 5 things at once. Because if you're doing that, you're probably not going to be successful at any of it. So doing too many things at once, that's number 2. Number 3, you follow too many people, mentors, or strategies. I've been guilty of this one too. Say you got 10 speakers that come to a live event, and they're all really good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's going to be some that are better than others for you. And so you have to be able to decide, is that going to be the best person to help me grow to the next level? Or is that other person going to be a better fit? And sometimes that comes from experience. And sometimes you just have to kind of go on faith and go on your own gut and kind of choose one. Because if you try to choose all 10 or all 8 or however many speakers you have there's a good chance that you're not going to get anything out of it that way. So number 4, you have too many strategies, too many mentors, and it's just too much to take in. Number 5, you get overwhelmed or distracted during the process of making that decision. Do you have that problem? I do sometimes, because everything sounds good. All the speakers sound really good, and they have really good stuff, and they're all successful people. Very often that's the case, right? And so when you decide, to go with something, it has to be, you're going to have to feel what feels good to you. And that's the hardest part, is that, for instance, I know in my gut, I would never be a good real estate flipper. You know, where you take a house and you decide to buy it at a low level so that you can actually fix it up and then flip it. You know what? I know I would not enjoy doing that. There's some people that get really excited about that kind of stuff, but I don't think I would. So that's not where I would go. Number 5, you buy all the products, you buy all the systems, and then you have all these things that you take home and you go, where do I start? I've done that too. You know, every one of these things are things I've done. That's why I can say this. So again, it's about, you gotta kind of narrow it down and make choices that make sense. I just got done going to the Millionaire Mind Intensive, and of course they've got their top program they talk to you about. And I know a lot of people go and buy the whole thing. For me, that would be too much for me to try to do that, because I don't know where you'd find time to do business if you were just going to all these events all the time. And then, let's see, we're at 5. Number 6, you come home and you do nothing with it. You come home and you do nothing with it. That is something I've also been guilty with, is that it is so easy to just go put it on the shelf and say, maybe I'll do that next week. And then it sort of just goes away and your motivation goes away and you settle right back down to where you were before you went to the event. And that depends on where you were, but that could mean that you're dropping right back into the failure behaviors that you had before, and you didn't learn anything that helped you. So let me go over that list again, because you can make a decision to change where you're coming from. One of the major things, I didn't write it down here, but it really helps me, is to set an intention before I go to any live event. I have this specific thing I want to accomplish or learn about before I go there. I write it down. And so my mind is kind of set for that purpose. I'm going to accomplish this one thing. And it doesn't matter what it is, but maybe it's something like, I am going to solve this particular problem from this event, and that is my main intention for going. When you do that, it's going to help you a lot, because then you're going to say, you know what, you're not going to have those other confusions, because you're going to say, that doesn't fit in with the intention I set for this event. Does that make sense to you? Is anybody getting anything out of this? Not hearing anything, not getting any feedback, so I'm not sure. Are you getting a good idea out of how this can help you the next time? Well, this can also apply, of course, to any online events, you know, if they're more than one day or, you know, more than an hour. You can do that as well. You know, there's lots of online events where they have multiple speakers and they're all separate, and you can do exactly the same thing with that. So I'm going to give you the list again. You take word for word notes. In other words, you just write down what they say, but you're not thinking about how that applies to you personally. When you do it that way, it's not going to be as effective. Number 2, you try to get all of what someone offers. In other words, if they offer extra classes, if they offer extra products, you try to get it all. That's, again, trying to spread yourself too thin, because you're trying to go all those different directions. And a lot of the time, they're all offering something different. So, number 3, you try to follow all the mentors and all the strategies. Now, that depends on what kind of a webinar or what kind of a live event you go to. But in a lot of cases, they're all going to be slightly different because they all have their own expertise. And so you've got to make a decision what fits you best. Number 4, you have to you get overwhelmed because you have too many strategies and too many mentors. You know, you can only follow one mentor well. And I heard it said recently, if you want to have a real result, choose one mentor and at least stay with that mentor for at least 90 days. And actually, probably even better if you go 120 days or more with one person and one strategy. When you succeed enough that it's creating income with that one strategy, then it will make more sense to you to spread out and maybe have a new mentor and a new strategy. People are trying to do too many things at once, and that's why they get overwhelmed. Our mind is not set up that way. It does not do very well when we try to do too many things at once. And a lot of people think that multitasking is cool, but most of the time it takes away focus. If you think about it that way, it almost always takes away focus when you try to multitask or when you try to do too many things at once. So let's get focused. Let's get you settled into a better place and one mentor and one strategy. And I can help you with that. If you want to know more about what I teach, that is on my personal profile in the profile. If you just click on it, that link takes you to my free training list, and that gives you a chance to learn how we do it very, very simply. And I hope this has been helpful. I haven't heard a lot of feedback, but I assume you are enjoying it. You're still here. And if you are, please let me know. I do love to teach. I do love to help you out. And this has been kind of fun to talk about events and how they help me and how they can help you. And this is the last of that. You can go get the rest of the replays. Most of them are going to be on my blog. That's at lindacromar.com. I'm really hoping to enjoy a personal time with you eventually. Let's all get this going the right way. I hope you guys are having an awesome afternoon. And this is Lynda signing off.